Now, to establish the strength of this correlation, we have to look at the coefficients. Let me mark this. Okay, so we have to look at the coefficients, and we can see that here we can see that for every 1% increase in property prices, there is a 0.62% decrease, because it's a negative sign, decrease of the average, of the rental yield. So that means, for example, if prices by 10% during the year, most likely we will see a 6.2% decrease of rental yields. Be careful, this is a 6.2%, not points. So if prices increase by 10%, the decrease in rental yields will be 6.2%, not points. Okay, there is a big difference between points and percent. Now, as for the EIBOR, or the interest rate, we can see from here that there is a positive relationship, because this number here is positive. So for every 1% increase in property prices, there is a 0.0% increase in the 1-year EIBOR rate. It is a positive relationship, but weak. So in other words, Dubai is not a market driven by credit. The housing market in Dubai is not credit-driven market, okay? And yield dynamics are driven more by capital flows or cash flows than by borrowing costs or interest rates. This is critical to understand. So what does this mean for Dubai's market? Dubai's rental yields are price driven first and only rate driven second. Okay. So yield compression is primarily a result of capital appreciation. And this is very common sense, because what is the formula for yield? Yield is equal to rent over price, right? So obviously, if the price appreciate the denominator, yet the yield will decrease, will compress, right? So before concluding, what I would like to show you also is the chart that we have built that explains how the log relationship made sense, because you can see the blue dots clearly forming a straight line, which is clearly correlated to the regression line. Okay, so to conclude, we can say that property prices, conclusion, property prices are mainly driven by yield compression, or we can say that as prices increases, yields decreases. And the rate of this increase decrease was already explained earlier using the regression model. We can see that for every 1%, increase in property prices, there is a 0.2% decrease in the rental yields. That's conclusion number one. Conclusion number two, interest rate play a secondary and indirect role in the yield compression, or of course expansion. So we can say that Dubai's rental market or housing market, it's very resilient to even higher interest rate. So even, what does this mean? That even if the interest rate increases, Dubai housing market is very strong to resist this increase because of the secondary role that interest rate plays, and because Dubai market, the residential market, is mainly a cash market, it's not a credit market. So yield cycles, we can say yield cycles, ups or downs, are driven by capital cycles or cash flow cycles, and not by credit or borrowing cost cycles. Okay. Okay, so I hope this video was useful, and if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to send through. Thank you very much.